Hello there, in this tutorial I'm going to discuss about editing Exchange ActiveSync. So we have to open Microsoft Exchange on premises. After opening Microsoft Exchange on premises, you will get the option called server configuration. In server configuration you will get the option called client access. In client access you will see this wizard, and here you get the options, multiple options like that, and here you find the Exchange ActiveSync. When you click on the right click properties, we will find out the uh, details over there, like internal URL. To find it out, Microsoft Server ActiveSync, you can see the SSL are enabled, default websites are there. So this is how we can find it out, the Microsoft ActiveSync, through the internal URL. You can set the external URL as well, which will be available, might be through the internet connections from the external networks. You can set it from here, and this for the internal URL, because this particular the Exchange server host name will be resolved through the internal DNS, and it has to be, otherwise if the same link needs a resolution, then it has to be configured in the public DNS. So this particular link needs to be resolved otherwise. So it needs to put the external URL, which resolves in the public network as well. Internal URL otherwise will be resolved in the private networks. When you go with the authentication, you will have the authentication methods, or the methods that virtual directory accepts. So since we are going to configure the virtual directory for the ActiveSync, so you can very much create the settings, like to enable authentication between the Exchange server and the mobile phone. Either basic authentication or client authentication is required. So if you set the basic authentication, a password will be sent as clear text. If you want that encrypted way, you need to uncheck that, otherwise it will remain same. The client certificate authentication will also be, for example, ignore client certificates if you set like that. Otherwise, if you set the accept client certificates, it will be accept these certificates or require client certificates. So it needs to have the certificates. So to configure SSL settings, ActiveSync virtual directory, use the Internet Information Service NAPIN. So through that only we can allow this particular settings. So if you want further configuration on the SSL settings, you want configurations like that. The third option called remote file servers. For example, you can create your own block list about the, for example, specify the host names of remote file server that client cannot access. Block list take precedence over the allow list. So you can block your own list here. You need to create the remote files here. Similarly, you can allow the specific remote files. You can create unknown servers. For example, specify how the access files from the remote files server that are not in the block list and the allow list. So you have two options. One is allow or block. So it's for the unknown servers if you want to. And the other option called enter the domain suffix, that should be treated as internal. So when you configure, and if you want the domain suffix and which needs to be treated as internal, you can add the fully qualified domain name. So that's totally the up to you or what are the settings is required, but this is how we able to create the ActiveSync virtual directory, and you can apply according to as per the planning stages of the company. So hope you learned something.